Hi guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Books Beside My Bed video. For those of you who are new here, I film one of these every single week where I wrap up the last 7 days of reading, and for those of you who are very familiar with the series, welcome back. Before I start talking about books, I did want to mention that I did put out another post on Twitter for people to pick numbers off my Kindle for another You Guys Choose My Kindle TBR. This is not going to be like the last time where I read them basically like within a week. This is just to pick random books off my TBR for me to pick up when I feel like it, because I'm just liking the variety of things, and it, you know, other people making decisions for me makes my life easier because decisions are hard. So if you are interested in picking something off my Kindle TBR, what you need to do in the comments of this video is to leave 2 numbers. The first number has to be between 1 and 47, and the second number has to be between 1 and 6. So it could be 31-2 or 1-4 or something like that. So if you're interested, feel free to leave it down below. I can't guarantee when I will get to it, but it's just going to be something that I'm going to do over the next couple of months. I will shout out people in my wrap-up videos when I do pick a book from their number. Also, for those who are interested, I finished watching The Boys this week on Amazon Prime, and I don't think I've ever been more enthralled or completely disturbed by a TV show in my life, and it was great. And it's just very hard to put my thoughts into order because there is so much wrong with the show, and yet it is a great show. I think it's just a very interesting commentary on life in the current day and superheroes who go bad. I was also talked into watching the start of Mindhunter on Netflix by some friends at work, and I am enjoying that, but I'm very, very much waiting for the main character to screw up badly, and it's making me very anxious. So I haven't continued watching the first season yet. I've got about 2 episodes left, so I'm on edge, guys. As for my reading, this is my reading week from the 18th to the 24th of August. I read 7 things this week, and I say things because there's all sorts of types of books and stories that is going to be included in this wrap up. I read a total of 1,738 pages, and my yearly reading total is up to 240 books. I am currently reading the last book in the Arcadia Belle series by Jen Bennett, but I'll talk more about that next week. The first book that I read this week is actually a graphic novel trade, and that is Daredevil, The Man Without Fear by Frank Miller. This is a 2001 release from Marvel, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I do really like the Daredevil stories, but I haven't read them for many, many years. And last year when I went back and binge watched Daredevil on Netflix, I picked up a whole stack of the graphic novels just so that I could read them, but it's taken me a whole year to read them. I read this for the Exceeds Expectations in Charms for the Newts Readathon, and it is basically sort of the origin of Daredevil from his formative years, including his relationship with his father and what happened to his father, his relationship with Elektra, and sort of the rise of the Kingpin. And it was just enjoyable and nice to sort of revisit that story and see some of the source material. Then for Charms Outstanding, which was to read a paperback, I picked up Daredevil Born Again, which is another graphic trade because why not? Again, this is by Frank Miller. This follows what happens when the Kingpin uncovers Daredevil's identity and Matt Murdock ends up becoming a man besieged, and it's sort of how his life goes to hell very, very quickly. And it was great, and it was interesting to see a whole lot of characters that I was familiar with, but I hadn't read this particular story before, and I really enjoyed it. This was also a 2001 release from Marvel, and I gave it 4 stars. And if I sound really weird, I apologize. I've been coughing up a storm, and it feels like I'm getting a chest cold, so I apologise in advance. Then I read Leashing the Tempest by Jen Bennett. This is book 2.5 in the Arcadia Belle series. It was published in 2012 by Pocket Books, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. This is a novella, and it takes place obviously between books 2 and 3, and it follows Katie and Lon's son Dupe as they decide to take a cruise on a ship. And they take along Katie's best friend slash co-owner of the bar that Katie owns, Kayi, and the 4 of them go out on this boat. And the idea is behind it is to test out Dupe's newfound abilities, and he unintentionally uses them in a really bad way, and it has severe ramifications for them, and they sort of get stuck on this boat in a storm without anyone who really knows how to sail the boat, and there's monsters, and it was delightfully fun and entertaining, so I really enjoyed it. Following that, I picked up Binding the Shadows by Jen Bennett, which is book 3 in the Arcadia Belle series. This was published in 2013 by Pocket Books, and I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. I mean, the series is just highly entertaining and I enjoy it. I read this for the Newts Readathon Challenge. Herbology exceeds expectations to read a book between 350 and 390 pages. I think it clocked in at about 388, so perfect. Obviously, being book 3, it's a bit hard to talk about what actually happens in this particular book, but for the sake of things, Katie starts investigating a group of earthbound demons who have suddenly had their powers increased. So each earthbound demon has a knack, and it's usually pretty contained and pretty limited, but a group of them suddenly start having these massive power surges and they start robbing local businesses within town, including her bar. And so she decides to uncover what is going on. Alongside this, Katie is learning a little bit more about her moonchild powers, and it is kind of interesting. And I'm very, very curious to see how this unfolds in the 4th book, which I'm currently reading. And but I'm only about a quarter of the way through, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this turns out. Then for the History of Magic Exceeds Expectations challenge for the Newts Readathon to read a book with a map in it, I read The Company of 8 by Harriet Whitehorn. This is a middle grade adventure story featuring acrobats and assassins and pirates and unscrupulous politicians. It was published in 2018 by Stripes Publishing and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It was fine for a middle grade book. I just probably would have liked a little bit more from it, but you know, I am an adult reading middle grade books, so my expectations are a little bit skewed. Cass is a young woman who is an orphan and has been taken in by her mother's good friend and raised by her with the expectation that she will, you know, become a lady and do all sorts of things. But Cass has other ideas. She really wants to become an acrobat. And on the day that the most prominent circus troupe is in town holding auditions, she is kept from them, and this leaves her very, very depressed. And so she runs away on the next boat with the hopes of catching up with them at some point. A whole lot of things happen, including being roped into a gang of thieves, pirates, taking over a ship, ending up on the Island of Women, which just seems like an ideal place, to be perfectly honest, and then having to save a town from the attacks of pirates. It's there's a lot of things that happen in this book, and I know quite a few kids in my class who really enjoy it. They're looking for more adventure books, and this one definitely has enough adventure in it to keep some of them occupied. So there's that. For the History of Magic Outstanding Challenge, which was to reread a favourite, I reread The Wrong Calahan by Carly Lane. This was a 2018 release from Alan Unwin that I gave 5 out of 5 stars the first time, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars the second time. And I decided on a whim to pick this one up again because I noticed that Carly Lane has been posting the cover for the final book in the trilogy. And you might remember earlier in the year, I was actually blurbed on the second cover, and apparently I've been blurbed on the third one, but I haven't seen it yet, so I will let you know closer to the date. So this is just a series that I really enjoy. It is a country romance story, and it follows Cash, who is a young beautician with sort of a tumultuous family background. She moves around a lot, but she is in Stringy Bark Creek to help out a friend who's had to move overseas, and Cash is running her day spa business for her while she's away. And this day spa happens to be next door to the Calahans. The youngest brother is quite enamored with her Griff, but it's Link who catches her eye, and he has just returned home in time for his sister's wedding, but he is dealing with his own demons after leaving the army, and the two strike up this relationship that causes some problems between Lincoln and Griff, and there's some interesting results at Hadley's wedding. Hadley is their sister, and it's just delightfully fun and very Australian, and I enjoy it a lot. And finally this week I read Wormwood Admirer by Judith Russell. I read this for the Outstanding Challenge for Care of Magical Creatures, which was to read a book with a bird on the cover, and it's not on the front cover, but it is on the back cover over here somewhere. This is one of the books that was recommended to me by one of my students way back at the start of the year, and I finally got around to reading it, so she'll be happy and I can take it into work. It is the second book in the Stella Montgomery series. It was published in 2016 by ABC Books, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's sort of a historical, magical realism mystery story, as only, you know, middle grade can do. Middle grade combines all of these genres usually. So Stella Montgomery is a young girl, and she has just been sent to Wormwood Mire by the 3 aunts who are her guardians. At the end of the first book, she upset them greatly, so they've decided to send her off to be tutored by a governess, and this governess also tutors her 2 cousins, and together the 3 of them get into all sorts of mischief at Wormwood Mire, and Stella uncovers that Wormwood Mire is actually linked to her past and the mystery of her mother and her sister, who are both missing. It was a lot of fun, it was entertaining, and I can see why the little girl in my class loves this series. It's definitely something that would pique her interest, and there is a 3rd book, but I haven't got that one yet, so at some point I will pick that up and read it. So those are the books that I read this week. In the comments below, let me know if you have read any of these books or if you are planning on reading them, and let me know how you're going with the Newts Readathon if you are participating. There's only 1 week left, and I officially completed my challenge ages ago, so I'm just now picking things randomly and seeing if I can slot them into different challenges, but if I don't cover everything, then that's totally fine too. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you are having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.